Yeah.
Despite going 15-0 and winning the national championship in 2019, LSU let go of Ed Orgeron after back-to-back 500 seasons in both 2020 and 2021. The Tigers expect to contend for SEC and national titles year in and year out, and they now look to Brian Kelly to do just that. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, breaking down LSU's hire of Brian Kelly, one of the more shocking hires, one of the more shocking changes of this entire coaching carousel, of this entire college football offseason. We're here to break down this hire, take a look at LSU's 2022 outlook, and of course grade this hire when it's all said and done. But before we do that, guys, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Just a simple click of the like button, a simple comment, a simple click of the subscribe button or that notification bell helps us out tremendously, more than you guys realize. Something so simple can help our channel grow tremendously and can help us bring you college football content year-round. So if you like this content, if you like some of the previous videos, and you don't want to miss some of the content we have coming forward, we got some great stuff coming forward in the months ahead, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and help our channel grow so we can bring you year-round college football content. So we take a look at Brian Kelly, guys, and his decision to leave Notre Dame for LSU was such a shock. I think it caught everybody off guard because Brian Kelly had spent 12 years in South Bend. 12 years as the head coach of the Fighting Irish, going a combined 92 and 39 during that time. He had a national championship appearance back in 2012. He had 2 playoff appearances in 2018 and 2020. He had 7 double-digit win seasons with Notre Dame. The problem is he was 0-4 in the New Year's Six / BCS caliber bowl games, the big games, as people want to call them. Brian Kelly just couldn't win them. Couldn't win the national championship. Didn't win either of those playoff appearances. They had a Fiesta Bowl appearance against Ohio State. Could not win that one either. So now he's leaving Notre Dame to come over to LSU in what is arguably the most difficult division in all of college football and the most difficult conference in all of college football. He leaves an independent in Notre Dame to come to the SEC, a conference he was just 3-4 against during his time with the Fighting Irish, actually defeating LSU 2 times in bowl games, the other win coming against Vanderbilt in the regular season, the 4 losses, 2 coming to Alabama, 1 in that national championship back in 2012, 1 in the playoff, and then 2 regular season losses to Georgia, 1 in South Bend and 1 in Athens. So a very interesting decision, guys, for a guy that couldn't win the big ones at Notre Dame. LSU expecting him to now win the big ones in the SEC. When we take a look at the outlook, guys, for LSU, and I'm actually not going to focus too much on the staff for Brian Kelly and LSU. We focused on some of the coordinators for these previous coaches we've discussed. I'm not too focused on that because if you look at LSU, you've got to worry about the talent right now. The ability to recruit is not an issue for Brian Kelly. He managed to land the 12th ranked recruiting class in the country in 2022. He managed to land the 3rd ranked class when it comes to the transfer portal. And that was how LSU was going to build themselves back up into contenders. At least they wanted to contend immediately. They were going to have to get some big-time transfers, and he did that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Mekhi Wingo coming on from the defensive line from Missouri. Jarek Bernard at cornerback from Oklahoma State. Greg Brooks, cornerback from Arkansas. Joe Fouché, a safety from Arkansas. Brings in Noah Cain, the running back from Penn State. So a lot of key pieces that have key experiences and leadership and playing time at elite programs such as Oklahoma State and Arkansas and Penn State. Guys like that are going to come in and make an immediate impact for LSU. And I think the defensive side of the ball was the biggest area of concern going into this offseason for Brian Kelly and the Tigers, and he was able to kind of rectify that and plug those holes with some of these transfers. Factor in that on offense, he retained Myles Brennan at quarterback. I think that's probably the biggest thing that he did. With Max Johnson departing for Texas A&M, getting Myles Brennan to not go into the transfer portal. He said he was going to. They were able to pull him out and say, hey, stick around. That was key for LSU. Myles Brennan is going to be the assumed starter for the Tigers going into 2022, but you can't sleep on Walker Howard, a 5-star quarterback coming in. You can't sleep on him. There might be a slight quarterback competition down in Baton Rouge, especially if Myles Brennan cannot stay healthy. But you have a veteran quarterback there who hasn't played many games, but a guy that when he has played has been phenomenal And at quarterback, you've got Kayshon Boutte on wide receiver. One of the best wide receivers in the SEC was last year before he got hurt. Hopefully he bounces back from injury. And Brennan and Boutte, if they can be healthy all the way through, they will be one of the best wide receiver quarterback duos in the conference. And there's no doubt about that. The defense was the biggest area of concern, and I think LSU is slowly but surely fixing that up. When you look at the schedule is tough, but what would it not be if you're in the SEC? That is life in the SEC. You're going to get a great opportunity to see what Brian Kelly's all about right off the bat in week 1 when LSU takes on Florida State in New Orleans. This is a huge game for both teams. Obviously, the first game of the Brian Kelly era. See what the Tigers are all about. How serious should they be taken? But also for Florida State, looking to try to bounce back after a couple disappointing years under Mike Norvell. They desperately need to get things started off on the right foot. And so this will be a very intriguing Sunday night matchup in week 1 in New Orleans. LSU draws Tennessee and Florida out of the SEC East, so clearly could have been worse. A Tennessee team that is drastically improving, surprised a lot of people last year in year 1 under Josh Heupel, but a Florida team that is dealing with new management now with Billy Napier. So could have been worse out of the East. Could have drawn Georgia for sure, and they avoided them. They get to host Alabama. They get to host Ole Miss. Of course, both those are nice to get those in Baton Rouge. Death Valley, one of the most difficult places to play in the country. But road games at Auburn, Florida, Arkansas, the Razorbacks coming after the Alabama game for LSU, and the season finale at Texas A&M, none of those are ideal. And if you had to wager now, I'm sure many people would factor in most of those as losses for the Tigers. Maybe the Arkansas game at A&M for many. So the schedule is not going to be easy for Brian Kelly. He's going to have to navigate this schedule to the best of his ability. And when you look at the schedule and when you look at the talent that LSU has, it's not going to shape up for many to be a year where they're going to contend for an SEC title, where they're going to contend for a national title or a playoff spot. That does not seem to be the case right now in 2022. Many want to believe that it will be, but with the first-year head coach that's dealing with what was a very bare team, considering how poorly LSU played in that bowl game against Kansas State, considering how depleted they were when it came to starters and just talent, period. They didn't even have a real quarterback in there in that bowl game against the Wildcats. Expectations, I don't think, are going to be very high going into 2022. So when you look at this, guys, what's the overall grade for Brian Kelly in Baton Rouge? I'm going to give this hire a B. I don't think it's mediocre. I wasn't going to go down to a C. But this is not, to me, an A hire. And here's why. Brian Kelly was a big-name hire that got the fan base excited. So LSU needed to get someone in there that they knew could recruit. I believe Brian Kelly can do that. That they need to get someone in there that was a big name. They did that. And someone that had succeeded significantly at his previous stop. Brian Kelly did that. It is a bit of an odd fit. Brian Kelly, not necessarily a native of this region, spending the majority of his career north. Coached in Cincinnati, coached Central Michigan, coached Notre Dame. The South is not really his territory, per se. So it's an interesting fit. Obviously, he's trying to develop that Cajun accent, and we know that's not going very well. But Brian Kelly, the biggest issue that people at Notre Dame had with him, again, as we mentioned earlier, was his inability to win the big games. Not just in the postseason, but even some in the regular season. And now LSU expects him to come down here to Baton Rouge, like we mentioned, the toughest division, the SEC West, and the toughest conference, the SEC, in all of college football, and they expect him to start winning those big games? Some could argue that the talent that he'll have at LSU will be better than the talent that he had at Notre Dame, that he can recruit better at LSU than he can at Notre Dame due to academic restrictions and things like that. I'm not going to argue that. I think his teams at LSU have the potential to be better than the ones that he had at Notre Dame. But eventually, you have to decide, is it just the talent that's not coming through, or is it the coaching that's not coming through? Brian Kelly will win a few big games during his time at LSU, but it's going to go one of two ways, guys. This hire is going to pan out significantly. He's going to be fantastic, or he's going to fail miserably. I do not see an in-between here. So this is a B hire for Brian Kelly. Not bad, not great. Kind of right there in the middle, a B hire for Brian Kelly and LSU, and time will tell to see if this hire really pays off, but you Tigers fans have to be patient because I don't see a big year coming in 2022. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Of course, check out everything down in the description below. All of that stuff, guys, helps our channel grow more and more by the day, which allows us to bring you college football content every single day. So please continue to do that. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.